welcome to the next edition of Ask the Insurance Expert, and I'm really pleased today to be joined by Gaurav Sapra, who is the Vice President of Speciality Lines at Orient Insurance, and today we're going to be talking about cyber insurance. So this is a very interesting subject. It's a vast subject, so lots to talk about, lots to learn. So Gaurav, thank you very much for joining me. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. Yeah, no, pleasure. Thank you very much for being here. And as I say, I'm really excited and interested in this subject. So looking forward to talking to you more about it and learning from you. It is a vast subject. There's a lot to talk about. So we will keep it kind of fairly basic at the moment, and perhaps we will do this again in the future, and we'll have another chat and go a little bit more in depth for now. But we'll keep it at a certain level to start with. So kind of just to get going, what we'd like to do is just find out a little bit about you. So if you can start by just telling us, who you are, how you came here, and how long you've been involved in the industry.
I've been in Dubai since 2007, and before that I was in insurance in ICICI in India. So it's been total 16 years I've been into insurance. Cyber particularly, it's a hot topic nowadays.
Yeah.
So it has evolved over last couple of years too much. So yeah, we are into cyber also. We do a lot of cyber insurance, especially in this time where people are working from home.
Yeah.
It becomes more important to have cyber right at this point in time.
Okay, so there's a lot of experience for us to take from you today, so looking forward to getting into it. And you mentioned the awareness of cyber insurance is kind of growing to some extent. There is certainly still a limitation on that awareness. So to kind of get started and keep it fairly basic at the moment, what is cyber insurance?
See, to start with, just think of a scenario. You have a home, you have cash inside, for example. You secure it in a wallet, but still you have a possibility that thief will come and steal it. Similarly, nowadays everything is on our mobile, is in our laptops. So people think that they are not prone to cyber, that it cannot happen to me, but it is it is a notion. It can happen to you anytime, and you'll not be even aware of it that it has happened to you. So yeah, cyber insurance is basically it will help you not even during the cyber attack, but pre and post cyber attack also. It has two aspects basically. If you see from coverage perspective, first is the first party aspects, which is basically covering the insured himself. So basically, when you take cyber insurance, you have to be mindful that you train your employees what is cyber insurance, because historically most of the attacks cyber attacks which have happened is based on the employee negligence. You click a link and then some malware will enter into a system and you can get it. So from the first party aspect of it, to start with the basics, it will cover your cyber extortion, it will cover your business interruption, it will cover your telephone hacking, it can cover your forensic and incident response teams. So, and from third party aspects of it, so if there is a privacy breach, what we call it basically, if you are storing any personal data,
yeah,
for example, which we call it PII, which is personally identifiable information. If it is stolen, so someone can sue you for that.
Yeah.
So there can be a privacy data breach, which can happen. There can be a media liability, which can happen. Yeah. There can be laws which are like GDPR laws,
yeah,
which are broken, and you can have a fine and penalties which can be looked into. So yeah, these are the basic aspects of cyber which can provide coverage on.
Yeah, so really making sure that you are protected against all potential risks and avenues of claims against you and so on. And is it something you kind of mentioned, the likes of mobiles and laptops and so on? Is it something that maybe it should be considered on like a personal level as well as a business level, or is it more for businesses?
See, it is for personal level also.
Okay.
I mean, the market has not yet grown to be at a personal level, but mainly for small and medium enterprises, till the large enterprises, of course. See, some small and medium enterprises, they don't think that they are susceptible to any business interruption, but especially in this kind of environment where people for past 6 months are working from home, it becomes very important to have a cyber insurance, and they are most exposed. Your data is most exposed to the cyber attacks.
Yeah.
So it becomes more important to have a cyber insurance.
Yeah, definitely.
And you should have a insurer who can do it not at the time of the incident, But starting when you take the insurance policy, there can be training which can be done to your employees, how they should behave and what they should be cautious of. Like for example, changing your passwords regularly. You have a strong password, and not to click any vague links and all. And during the cyber attack also, and post cyber attack.
Okay. And what are the kind of the most commonly seen cyber attacks?
See, cyber attacks can be a malware attack, where someone just enters a malware in your system, and they can ask you for money, which can be a cyber extortion. There can be phishing attacks where you receive a hoax email. There can be phishing attacks as well. So these are major types of attacks which can happen. In this market, we have not seen many of the media liability or privacy breach kind of losses. But there have been first party losses, as I explained it to you, which are more in
So there's a number of different ways that an attack can take place, and of course it's possible to cover against some or all of those potential risks.
So ideally what happens is, like for example, if there is a cyber attack, normally in all the cyber policies there is a cyber toll-free number, or some insurers they give you a app to download on your mobile. So you immediately call the toll-free number that there is a cyber attack. There will be an incident response manager who will tell you how to act on it. So all these services are provided during the cyber attack.
Interesting. And you kind of mentioned, obviously, with the situation that we've been in, COVID-19, and obviously that on the back of that, a lot of people have been working from home and remotely, which has maybe not been done as much in the past. Have you therefore seen like kind of an increase in the need or the request for cyber insurance, or are people still not quite sure that maybe they definitely should have it now?
No, see, I mean, the request has certainly been increased. If you compare last couple of years, for example, personally we used to receive one inquiry a month, say last year. Now we receive one inquiry a day.
Really?
Or a couple of days. So, and we have done quite a few cybers also. So the knowledge is increasing because there have been they are exposed to cyber. So as you said, people working from home, they are more because their network and all, because everything nowadays is stored in clouds. So all the information, all the company information, financials, the money, everything is there. So it is increasing, of course.
And it's an interesting point that you made as well about kind of educating your staff. If you have this policy in place, you have the cover, you need to educate and train your staff so that they're taking the, I guess, appropriate sort of caution and lowering the risk as well.
See, that is the first step to cyber. See, insurance will act as a backup. That if in case of any unfortunate incident of a cyber attack, we are there to help you and we are there to reimburse your loss. But for us as insurers and the clients, it is beneficial that we train the employees.
Of course.
We tell the employees what they have to do in cyber attack, so that the cyber attack situation is minimized. So kind of there are some insurers who offer services like they will give a training to the employees, how to set the password, what is a strong password, and how to manage the emails which you receive, whether you should be alert. You just should not click anything which is received on an email, because most of the cyber attacks, as I said, happen because of negligence.
So it's very important, and I guess it's a case of trying to assist with the prevention. As with most insurances, you don't really want to use the cover, or you don't want to use the cover. Of course, you want to have it in place, but again, with this, if you can support and help your clients, your customers to prevent and do all they can, then less risk for them as well, right?
I mean, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it is better to prevent it. But in these kind of atmosphere where we are working from home also, it is better to have insurance.
Of course, make sure you've got it in place. Absolutely. So what are the kind of potential losses that are at risk for a company in the event of a cyber attack? And have you got any examples that you can share?
See, normally, as I said, cyber is mainly into a first party losses which can be covered and a third party losses which can be covered. Normally, what happens is whenever there is a cyber attack, there can be loss of data. So we can pay for restoration of data. There can be business interruption because your systems are hacked. You don't function for say 1 week or 2 weeks. So there'll be a business interruption. Recently This year we had a claim where one of the entities in Abu Dhabi who provides certain data to bank was hacked.
Wow.
And they were not able to provide that information on which banks rely to the banks, because they used to charge a fee to the bank for each data which they provide. So there was a business interruption loss, plus there was a data restoration which we paid for, plus we appoint incident response managers, and there are forensic experts who work on the case how the cyber attack. So these are the major 3 costs which occur in case of a cyber attack. Then if you go to the third party aspect of it, for example, there is a hospital, and some key person has a health data with the hospital, and that is leaked. So the person can sue the hospital that my data has been leaked, and because of that I have suffered. So that is the third party aspect of it. But majorly the losses which have come up is basically because of business interruption, the forensics and the incident response managers expense which we have, and the restoration of cost.
Yeah, it's amazing really when you think of what can kind of span from something like a cyber attack, and the different ways that it can go and how it can affect the business, or as you say, the likes of a hospital or a bank as well. It's crazy. And again, we discussed like the awareness of cyber insurance, and maybe that is growing a little bit. Is the cost on the back of that, is it kind of going up, or is it coming down for businesses that are looking at this type of cover?
At the current time which we are going through, we are very cautious of what we write.
Okay.
There are certain kind of information based on which we do rating.
Yeah.
I mean, the kind of firstly the kind of industry you are in, the kind of the amount of personal information which you store, how the company is performing, how the IT backups are there or not there. So all these information we have to vet. So basically these are the rating factors. Rates are stabilized. It's not that much increase, but yeah, as I said, during this point, especially for past 6 months, we have seen slight increase in rates because the exposure is more.
Yeah.
But yeah, it totally depends on these factors. As I said, how the company is maintaining, whether they have a BCP, business continuity plan in place in case of cyber attack, whether they have all the data which are backed up, then it is easy to restore also. If you don't have a backup, then you have to spend more to restore, for example. So all these things we keep in mind, and kind of personal information, as I said, PII information which we have, which the company has in store. So if there is a leak in that, you'll have more third-party claims. So all these things we have to just cater to when we do rating. But yeah, the rates are kind of stabilized. It's not that expensive for a small SME kind of segment to have cyber. If you compare it with the kind of claims they will face, for example. Yeah.
Okay, and you just mentioned SMEs there. Is this something that is or should be for kind of everyone, SMEs, or is it just particularly large companies, large businesses, maybe e-commerce and so on, or who is cyber insurance for?
See, cyber insurance, anyone who holds a personal PII, personal identifiable information can have a cyber insurance. Anyone who who is dealing in web can use a cyber insurance. Okay. Who's dealing in non-cash, credit cards can have a cyber PCI. We cover PCI also, payment card interface. So anyone can have it's not that only the big companies should have it. In fact, small companies and SMEs are more exposed. Okay. Because what happens is, all these big companies, they have a full BCPs and full plans in case of cyber attack, what will happen. And one cyber attack might not shake a company. But for SMEs, it is more important to have a cyber, because one cyber attack, they don't know what kind of losses they will suffer. The company might shut down. So it's better to have for SMEs cyber insurance rather than the big companies to have it.
Yeah. So do you think should SMEs be kind of concerned about cyber security, about the risks that are out there at the moment and kind of going forward?
See, what I feel, rather than being concerned, they should be aware.
Yeah.
Because most of the people and SMEs and especially individual, they think that nothing will happen to me. That cyber attack, there are many big companies, why would they attack me? So most importantly, they should be aware that that cyber attack can happen to you, and they should have a proper kind of insurance to protect them, to be honest.
Yeah, and quite interested to sort of talk about the process of not only just getting your cyber insurance policy, but how does that start? Is it a case of a review of current security? measures that they can put in place, obviously having the protection, the insurance in place, and then continued sort of training after that, or what else is involved in getting something together for a business?
See, normally what happens is when we receive a proposal, okay, we will vet the proposal.
Okay.
As I told you, the kind of industry, the kind of records they hold, the number of records they hold, whether they have a backup of data or no, whether they have a proper BCP or no.
Yeah.
Based on that, we underwrite the risk. And in some cases, we tell them also that we cannot do it, but you have to have all these things in place, a proper backup, and what is your business continuity plan in case of a cyber attack. Yeah. We are open to, sometimes we provide training to, as I said, training to the employees, and make awareness to the employees also that, these kind of things, they have to be aware.
Yeah. And is that kind of, obviously, as an insurer working with, brokers, the likes of obviously insurancemarket.ie, and having that kind of partnership, is this where the broker, the insurer can really come together and help the client and offer that full service? Ultimately, they need the policy, but there's the whole process as well, right?
See, as I said, cyber insurance, like for example, if you take any convention policy, you take the policy and then sleep over it.
Yeah.
But normally in cyber insurance, there has to be firstly awareness.
Okay.
So we need to be aware, which is good for the client, broker, and the insurance company, that the client is aware of the risk and he has taken steps to mitigate the risk. Like for example, as I said, training of employees and all. Then there is during the cyber attack, what happens? During the cyber attack, as I told you, we appoint an incident response manager, who will guide the client how to take the claim forward. Like if there is a case of cyber extortion, the incident response manager will be always there to help them how to take this forward. Plus data restoration and all. If you go post cyber attack, there will be business interruption.
Yeah.
Okay. There will be data restoration. So we help them to do and pay for all this.
Okay.
So it's a continuous process where broker, client, and insurance company has to be totally involved in it.
Yeah.
So and as a team, we need to fight the cyber thing.
Yeah, that's a key point. Working together. The broker, the insurer, the client. At the end of the day, broker, insurer are there to help the client and give them the best possible option. So, if I'm an owner, CEO, whoever it may be of an SME or any company, I guess, what would be the first step? Do I need a review of the current situation?
Yeah, normally we will ask for what every company has an IT department.
Yeah.
Okay, we will ask for what kind of things you have in place. Okay, what kind of like whether you store all your data is stored in one server or you have a backup server.
Yeah.
Okay, or how you store your data, which how it is particularly stored, how much information is stored in your data, what kind of information is there.
Yeah.
So all these things we will ask for, and then we'll see whether it is in our store, and whether you have a incident response team which is there internally with the client also. There are some big clients who already have an incident response team. For example, if something is hacked, their own IT team can help, but of course they have to inform us that there is an attack, but they have their own steps in place how they will react to it.
Okay, so get that review done, and of course then the broker, the insurance company would put options together, maybe a quotes in terms of the type of cover that they need,
the type
what's
of limit
cost,
which they need.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, it's very, very interesting indeed.
Yeah, it's a hot topic nowadays.
It certainly is. Yeah, it certainly is. Unlike the likes of motor insurance, which is compulsory out here, obviously cyber insurance isn't compulsory. Is it a real challenge to kind of make businesses see the need for this when they don't legally need it?
See, it totally depends. Once the client understands the exposure, as I told you, these SMEs and mid segment are more exposed to cyber. Once like brokers or insurance companies, they make them understand that once you get a cyber attack, it will be very difficult to recover business also. Then for sure, you can, whether compulsory or not, you can, make them sell. But I'm sure, in certain years to come, it will be one of those conventional policies which has to be sold, and people will most likely buy.
Definitely. So you think that perhaps in the future it may become more of a compulsory insurance for companies, for businesses?
If not compulsory, for sure, people will think that I need to have a cyber for sure.
Yeah. And I guess again that's on the back of the awareness, right? It's a little bit like, unfortunately there's been a few fires in this region recently, and on the back of that, what you tend to find is that people hear about it and they think, home insurance,
yeah,
haven't got it,
same
and then,
like this,
if more attacks happen and more press, more news about it, then maybe
it is kind of like directors and officers insurance, which was 5 years ago. People never used to buy it, but now every director who enters the company first sees whether the company has a director or officers insurance or no. So it will be kind of similar like this in future.
Again, like obviously you've got sort of cyber security and prevention and measures. Are we also seeing that the hackers, the people that are maybe carrying out these cyber attacks are also becoming better? They're evolving. So as much as you can have security in place, it's a constantly kind of evolving situation.
In fact, both sides are evolving. Like I've read somewhere also that that hackers are professionals. You can pay hackers to send a malware to a website or send a malware to a particular client. So they are thorough professionals in Europe and all these countries. You can pay hackers and get these things done.
It's crazy. It is. It's a little bit scary at times when you can see the potential impact and what can happen to a business without this sort of security.
So definitely, it's better to have a cyber insurance because it will it will save you from three kind of impacts, which is basically cyber, financial impact, from a reputational point of view also, and from a legal point of view also. So all these kind of it will protect you ultimately.
Yeah, definitely. So it ticks a lot of boxes, and in terms of like the claims that are around at the moment, are there a lot of claims being made? Therefore, kind of on a lot of attacks happening, or how's that situation?
We have seen claims, but the frequency is less than the severity.
Yeah.
Once a claim occurs, we appoint a forensic expert or a incident response manager. The recovery, as I said, the business interruption, the severity of claim is high.
Yeah.
The frequency is not that much high, to be honest, at this point in time.
Okay.
But depending on the industry, the severity can be very high.
All right, Gaurav. Well, there's been some very useful and insightful information shared there, so I really appreciate you doing that. It's definitely something, I guess, that you could probably talk in a lot more detail and a much more sort of complex level, but it's good to keep it, at a fairly basic level for now. And, I guess people can obviously reach out to the broker, to the insurers like yourself, and take the next steps there. But as you've mentioned, it sounds like a very good idea for a lot of these companies to get a review, right? That's the first step. No cost. Get a review and see where you're at from there.
And honestly, for SMEs and all, if you take a cyber, it will not cost you also much. So it's better to have it rather than to repent.
Yeah. So get that review, and then I guess ultimately it will be a case of you should really have it, or maybe you don't necessarily need it, but it's probably still not a bad thing to have, and it's worth taking those steps. So. Yeah, no, very good. So thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it, and I've learned a lot myself as I do in these interviews. So I'm sure we'll do it again. It would be great to speak to you again and maybe up the level next time. But yeah, really appreciate your time. So thanks very much for joining.